Mr. Speaker.
I call the member for Coogee.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to speak in support of the Health Services Amendment Ambulance Fees Bill of 2014. Now, it's important to note at the outset that this bill does not introduce any new fees or any new charges for services provided by the New South Wales Ambulance Services. The purpose of the bill is to allow for the more efficient recovery of the debt. The debt. A debt is something when you've used a service and run up a debt and you are expected to pay for it. Now, ambulance, as was pointed out by the member for Balmain, ambulance services in New South Wales are not free. In fact, they are heavily subsidised. But due to the average size of the debt owed by individuals for each ambulance trip, approximately $400, as well as the number of debtors involved, the recovery of such debts using the usual court-based procedures is simply not cost-effective. That's why we're turning to the SDRO. At present, the New South Wales Ambulance Service relies upon commercial debt recovery processes to recover unpaid debts to New South Wales Ambulance Service. New South Wales Ambulance Service currently pays approximately $1 million per annum to external debt collection agencies in an effort to recover unpaid fees. Now, discussions with the Office of State Revenue indicate that the cost of recovery by OSR will not materially vary from the existing fee arrangement. However, by using the Office of State Revenue, we are keeping debt collection for a government service in government, which makes more sense. Now, I'm surprised to hear from the other side of the House who continually oppose privatisation, and it was even mentioned by the member for Balmain. They oppose privatisation, and yet they're happy to have to continue debt collection in the private sector. This is bringing it back out of the private sector and nationalising the debt collection. This is national, yes, indeed, socialist indeed. So it just makes a hell of a lot more sense. And in 2011-12, New South Wales Ambulance referred to around $32.5 million of debt to this external debt collector for recovery. The debt collector recovered around 20% of the debt, resulting in the write-offs of 80%, millions of dollars, which should have gone back into our ambulance services. However, the Office of State Revenue has demonstrated that it has the ability to recover difficult and aged debt. Now, so over the past couple of years, state debt recovery has increased the daily recovery rate of overdue debts from $700,000 per day to $1.2 million per day. So it's reporting recovery rates of up to 90% from all stages of the fine recovery process. Now, the government anticipates that the significant experience and the capability of the Office of State Revenue combined with the powers that it will have under this bill will result in a significant increase in recovery rates of the monies owing to New South Wales Ambulance Service. This will in turn result in a reduction in the write-off, which was $26 million in 2011-12. Now that's $26 million in 2011-12 that should have gone straight back into the ambulance service, but the ambulance service was deprived of that money. It is the New South Wales Ambulance, or New South Wales Ambulance offers the finest ambulatory services in the world, and they are an outstanding service. It costs an enormous amount of money to the state, and for the average fare of $400, call out, that is a very small amount of money. But we must point out that New South Wales has a policy in place to allow any individual who is unable to pay for an ambulance service or is suffering hardship to apply for a waiver of payment or other agreed payment options such as time to pay. The New South Wales Ambulance processes large numbers of such applications on a weekly basis. In the last 3 months alone, 170 cases of hardship have been considered, including hardship on compassionate grounds, Good Samaritan Acts, refugee advocacy and financial hardship. Pensioners and concession card holders who make up the significant proportion of ambulance service users are exempt from any payment for services. So they're not going to be caught up in this. Now, I noticed that I think it was a member for Heffron and another speaker from the other side has said that the service or the OSR will be coming into people's kitchens and taking their fridge in the middle of the night, knocking down the door at 2 a.m. and coming in and taking away their fridge. Well, maybe that's happened to them and it was their bar fridge that got taken away, because the powers of seizure, power to seize property, will be the subject to the same restrictions that currently apply under Part 8 of the Civil Procedures Act 2005. Those restrictions include a prohibition on the seizure of bedroom and kitchen furniture, clothing and tools of trade. Well, there you go. They're not going to be taking your fridge, because it currently exists in law that you cannot have those removed. Now, what we can see is once again this poor, sloppy financial management of those on the other side. That's why this state got so far into debt. That's why this state was broken, because it was mentioned, I think, by the member for Macquarie Fields that across the health service there was a $400 million surplus last year. So we should just write off this debt, not go out and collect it. We're talking about people who have the capacity to pay. As was pointed out earlier, if you don't have the capacity to pay, you'll be given exemptions or time to pay. But the people who have and are just abusing this service, they should be chased down and the money recovered so it can go back into our ambulance service. But typically from those sides, the other side, we've got this poor financial management and against bringing the debt collection back into the public sector. Now, and we heard a quote from Gerard Hayes that he wasn't happy. Gerard Hayes from the HSU. Well, he's not a very good debt collector. I don't know how much of the money he's recovered of HSU members that Michael Williamson squandered. Maybe he's obviously not a very good debt collector. All those poor HSU members that out of pocket from Michael Williamson diddling them out of the money. And I think quite a bit of that money actually went to the campaign for the member for Maroubra. So maybe if he's looking for some if he finds some generosity in his heart, maybe the member from Maroubra might like to go and pay that money back to the HSU, those poor struggling HSU members who were ripped off. So now, there's also going to be additional statutory review rights, including review by the New South Wales Hardship Board, that do not currently apply to New South Wales ambulance debts. A lot of care has been taken in preparing the measures contained in this bill to ensure that it contains robust protections around procedural fairness and privacy protection. Unfortunately, there are people who have the financial capacity to pay for ambulance services, but they decline to do so. In the short time that I was in the New South Wales Ambulance Service, Central District Ambulance as it was called then, we saw people who were continual abusers, and it really affects the morale of paramedics and ambulance officers when they see these people who continually abuse it. They know they've got the capacity to pay, and yet they aren't doing it, and they're using it as a taxi service. The worst thing we could do is make it even easier for these people to get away with ripping off the state, but also, the very, very, very valuable, every health dollar should be put to the most effective purpose. And the $26 million that we're currently not collecting, which is just being written off, is just unacceptable. And the ambulance service deserves that money to continue offering the outstanding services that they have done for years to come. I commend the bill to the House.